Level 1, 24 hours without sleep. You've been awake for a full day. Maybe you pulled an all-nighter studying. Maybe you binged an entire season of something. At this point, your brain is functioning like you've had 4 or 5 drinks. Being awake for 24 hours gives you the cognitive impairment of someone with a blood alcohol level of 0.10%. That's above the legal driving limit in every single state in America. Your reaction time slows by about 50%. Your memory starts getting spotty. Decision-making becomes genuinely difficult. And your brain is terrible at recognizing how impaired it actually is. Just like a drunk person who insists they're fine to drive, sleep-deprived people consistently overestimate their abilities. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for self-awareness and judgment, is one of the first things to go offline. You might notice your eyes struggling to focus. Words on a screen start swimming. You're irritable for no reason. And your body starts producing extra cortisol and adrenaline to compensate for the fatigue. It's basically running on emergency backup power. Level 2, 36 hours without sleep. Now things start getting weird. Your brain begins experiencing something called microsleeps. These are involuntary sleep episodes lasting anywhere from a fraction of a second up to 30 seconds. The terrifying part is, you often don't know they're happening. Your eyes can stay open. You might still be sitting upright. But parts of your brain are literally shutting down without your permission. During a microsleep, your brain stops processing external information entirely. You could be driving down a highway and miss several seconds of road time without realizing it. At 60 miles per hour, that's 300 feet traveled completely unconscious. Microsleeps cause around 6,000 fatal car crashes every year in the United States alone. Your coordination starts deteriorating noticeably. You might struggle to form complete sentences or lose your train of thought mid-conversation. Mood swings become more extreme. Some people become weirdly giddy. Others become paranoid or anxious. Your immune system also starts taking hits. Even partial sleep deprivation reduces natural killer cell activity by about 30%. These are the cells that hunt down viruses and cancer cells in your body. Level 3, 48 hours without sleep. Welcome to extreme sleep deprivation territory. At 2 days without sleep, your cognitive abilities are severely compromised. You'll struggle with basic math. Short-term memory becomes almost non-functional. You might put your keys somewhere and forget about it seconds later. The hallucinations typically start around this point. Nothing elaborate yet, mostly visual disturbances. Objects in your peripheral vision seem to move. Shadows look wrong. You might see patterns or shapes that aren't there. Some people report seeing things crawl across walls or floors. Research shows the visual system is hit hardest, with 90% of sleep-deprived people experiencing visual distortions. About half feel strange physical sensations like bugs crawling on their skin. A third start hearing sounds that don't exist. Your brain is so desperate for the dream state, it's starting to generate dream imagery while you're still technically awake. The line between sleeping and waking is blurring whether you want it to or not. By 48 hours, your immune system drops even further. Your body essentially becomes an easier target for disease. Your perception of time gets distorted too. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like minutes. You might look at a clock and not process what the numbers mean. Simple decisions become agonizing. Should I eat something? What should I eat? Where is the food? Each step feels like solving a complex puzzle. Level 4, 72 hours without sleep. 3 days without sleep and you're entering territory that resembles acute psychosis. The hallucinations are no longer subtle. People at this stage report seeing full figures standing in rooms, hearing voices, having complete sensory experiences that aren't real. By 72 hours, participants in studies were experiencing hallucinations in visual, auditory, and tactile forms simultaneously. Your ability to communicate breaks down significantly. Speech becomes slurred. You might start sentences and forget where they were going. In documented cases, people struggled to understand basic questions. Their responses became disconnected from reality. Paranoia becomes intense. You might become convinced that people are watching you or plotting against you. These aren't just vague feelings. They're full delusions that feel completely real. Your brain can no longer reliably distinguish between actual sensory input and things it's generating internally. Motor skills deteriorate badly. You might struggle to hold a pen. Walking becomes unsteady. Your hands shake. Fine motor control essentially disappears. The state resembles toxic delirium or acute psychosis. The good news is that, unlike actual psychosis, these symptoms resolve with sleep. Level 5. The Randy Gardner experiment. In 1964, a 17-year-old high school student named Randy Gardner decided to stay awake for 11 days straight as a science fair project. A teenager broke the world record for sleep deprivation for a science fair, and it was monitored by Stanford researchers who heard about it and drove down to San Diego to watch. By day 2, Randy couldn't identify objects by touch. By day 3, his speech was slurring, and he was becoming irritable. Day 4 brought the first hallucinations. He became convinced he was Paul Lowe, a professional football player from the San Diego Chargers, despite weighing about 120 pounds. His friends thought it was funny. Randy did not. By day 5, he was seeing things that weren't there. A forest path appeared in his living room. He'd walk toward it, then snap back to reality. His friends had to talk to him through the bathroom door whenever he went inside to make sure he didn't fall asleep on the toilet. They played basketball and pinball with him around the clock to keep him moving. Days 8 through 11 were rough. He could barely hold a pencil. His attention span was gone. When researchers asked him to count backward from 100 by sevens, he stopped at 65 and forgot what he was supposed to be doing. When they asked why he stopped, he said he couldn't remember. Different parts of his brain were taking turns shutting down while others stayed awake. After 264 hours without sleep, Randy held a press conference where he somehow appeared coherent, then finally went to bed. He slept for 14 hours and 40 minutes. When he woke up, he went to school the next day like nothing happened. Physically, he seemed fine. But decades later, Randy developed severe insomnia. Starting around 2007, he spent years barely sleeping at all. He'd lie in bed for 5 or 6 hours, sleep for 15 minutes, then wake up again. He called it karmic payback for his experiment. Guinness World Records stopped tracking sleep deprivation attempts after this because they deemed it too dangerous to encourage. Level 6. Fatal familial insomnia. Everything we've discussed so far is survivable. Sleep and you recover. But there's a condition where that's not an option. Fatal familial insomnia is a rare genetic prion disease. It's similar to mad cow disease. A misfolded protein starts accumulating in your thalamus, the part of the brain that regulates sleep. It typically hits around age 50, though it can appear as early as your 20s. The symptoms start with progressively worsening insomnia, not the kind where you just can't fall asleep easily, the kind where your brain physically loses the ability to enter sleep states. Sleeping pills don't work. Nothing works. The mechanism is broken. Over the following months, patients experience rapid mental deterioration, hallucinations, panic attacks, paranoia, weight loss. Their autonomic nervous system starts failing. Heart rate becomes erratic. Blood pressure spikes. They sweat constantly. Eventually, they lose the ability to speak and move voluntarily. The average survival time after symptoms begin is about 18 months. There is no treatment and no cure. Only about 40 families worldwide are known to carry the gene. If one of your parents has it, you have a 50% chance of inheriting it. Some people from affected families choose not to get tested. They'd rather not know if they have a death sentence waiting to activate in their brain. Level 7. The rat experiments. So, can sleep deprivation actually kill you? In the 1980s, a researcher at the University of Chicago named Alan Rechtschaffen designed an experiment to find out. He put pairs of rats on a rotating platform over water. Whenever the sleep-deprived rat started to doze, the platform would spin and both rats would have to move to avoid falling in. Both rats got the same physical stimulation, but one could sleep between rotations while the other couldn't. Every single sleep-deprived rat died within 11 to 32 days. Their fur turned yellow and matted. They developed lesions on their paws and tails. They ate 2 to 3 times more food than normal, yet kept losing weight. Their bodies were burning through energy at an unsustainable rate. When researchers performed autopsies on the dead rats, they found almost nothing wrong with them. No anatomical cause of death was identified. Their organs looked mostly normal. Some showed signs of bacterial infections that had spread from their guts. But when researchers gave sleep-deprived rats antibiotics to prevent the infections, they still died on the same schedule. Scientists still don't know what actually killed them. The rats just ran out of something essential that only sleep could provide. This is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in sleep research. We know sleep deprivation is fatal in rats, but we don't know why. And we don't know if the same thing would happen to humans because obviously we can't run that experiment. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now go get some sleep.